Self-knowledge is knowledge about your being. Human beings forget their true being and do not understand who they really are. We come to discover who we are just by thinking about it. What is our duty when we gain birth as human beings? This human birth is not just to do homework and mundane tasks, like the bull that works turning the olive press, always mechanically involved in repetitive activities. Do not live only to do worldly duties, only to die. Your birth will be in vain if you do not use it to understand reality. The purpose of human birth is to obtain ultimate happiness by realizing Narayana, God. Instead, people engage in many things, thus wasting this precious human body. This birth in the human body is unique, as it has the capacity for a superior intellect and discrimination, so that we can know God, the definitive being. One must understand that one is Brahman to obtain final peace. This is called Purushartha, the ultimate goal of man. You need to experience this state beyond the mind. He who strives to attain this knowledge obtains it. You must understand God first. This implies that you should make your vision fully penetrating. Just as heaven permeates everything, so God permeates everything. Keep in mind that God is in everything. The light of the sun and the light of the moon are the light of the self. The God that permeates the world also resides within us. Just as the sky, the space invades a jar, being invades us. When the flask, the body, breaks, that portion of heaven merges with the whole sky, so also the light of the self merges into Brahman. Empty space is in a pot, in a house, and in consciousness. Even if the pot is broken or the house collapses, the sky or the space that is contained within them is not affected. Similarly to heaven, the self also does not go or come anywhere. Recognize the Supreme Being. You must recognize the self, the primordial cause, the substratum of everything. That which is beyond the visible is the self. That is Brahman. There is only Brahman who is only one. The being is prior to all attributes, so he has no comings and goings. Before there was even sky or water, at that time, the Supreme Being was there. Before any element came into existence, the Supreme Being was there. The fact that he is before the senses does not attract anyone's attention. Through many births, the mind and intellect have acquired the habit of just looking outward. Therefore, turning inward became a very difficult task. This is called the reverse path, which the saints follow when they turn in the opposite direction and observe the mind completely, abandoning seeing everything external. From the self arose intellect, knowledge, ignorance, etc. Therefore, you are the precursor of everything. The aspirant should begin the search for this I in his own center. It will never be found outside of us. In every human being, the sense of I, or ego, and mine, the feeling of possession, it's filling us to the brim. All actions in the world are carried out by the strength of this ego and the sense of mine. Try to discover who you are, where you came from, as well as where you are destined to go, and why. It doesn't matter if you neglect all other work. The supreme reality is attained only after obtaining knowledge. Knowledge as a whole is one. Reality is like an unlimited sky, but by being restricted by identification with the body, the form, like a cloud, it takes on the role of being an individual, and in the process creates many limitations. The concept, I am the body, or I am an individual, is what keeps this person trapped. And it is only with right thinking that freedom is obtained. Individuals trapped in the false self suffer from two basic feelings. 1. They find it impossible to believe that they are Paramatman, the Supreme Self. 2. They think they are something that is not Paramatman, like the body, the mind, the personality, etc. Basically, worldly life means feeling proud of just about everything, and the complete renunciation of pride is true freedom. Understand that fulfilling worldly desires will never provide as much joy as giving them up. He who understands this permeates everything. If a person wants to free himself from misery, he must abandon the self. However, before it is abandoned, we have to find out exactly where this self resides. It is only when we find the self that we can talk about abandoning it. Among the devotees, there are very few who meditate on the nature of the self and think about what their real self is. There are very few who question, what am I? We should investigate the meaning of I. We should look at who we are. When it is known that we are nobody, then who are we? Someone is. That someone is Paramatma. Without imperfections and without qualities, is that supreme being. He is all objects, all qualities, the ego, all things. Only you are not there. Everything is Paramatma. But when you become an insignificant little ego, you are an individual, the jiva. Worries and sorrows are your lot in life, and you become powerless. Because of acceptance of the state of jiva, you become a prisoner. With the dissolution of the state of jiva, what remains is Shiva. After letting go of all things, the mind becomes absorbed in the One. That which remains after abandoning what is visible is Brahman. All appearance is illusion, Maya, and the witness is Brahman. What is seen is the false appearance, and what sees is Brahman. There is a statement in the Vedas which says that there are only two entities, that which is seen and that which sees. The Vedanta states this bluntly. In this world there is nothing beyond the observer and the observed. That which resides in the heart of everyone is Brahman, and he is real. Whoever takes refuge in what is seen perishes, and whoever takes refuge in Brahman attains his state. If you focus your attention on the seen, the objective world, you will be destroyed as well as that which is seen, the objective world. The trinity of the observer, the observed, and the act of observation comes into existence because of the deception of the mind. In ignorance, the observer and the observed are two things. When what is observed is dissolved, the observer is left alone without any object of observation. That is Brahman. That which is beyond the visible is the self. Listen. Glory is knowing that all appearances are illusory, all are false, and there are neither comings nor goings. And he who is this glory is Paramatma. You yourself are Paramatma. Your true nature is this. What has form is not what you are. Paramatma is eternally existing without pause. In all varied things, there is only one that exists, just as in all ornaments, there is only gold. All the many names are used to facilitate the acquisition of understanding, but Paramatma is beyond description. There is only Brahman, which is only one. He who knows that there is nothing else is himself Brahman. He whose longings for sense objects are gone, whose sense of I as separate from all else is gone, and whose pride is gone, is he who has truly realized Brahman. Brahman is like the void, like the sky, without measure, without quality, without impurity, stable and eternal. He is called Paramatma, and there are many names for him. However, he has no name, but you know that he is eternally the same. It is present at the beginning and at the end, before concepts are formed and even when they appear. It is immutable and permanent. He is neither seen nor felt, however. They give him many names. There are countless names, masculine, feminine, and neutral, that are given to the One. The truth cannot be avoided. It cannot be distorted or changed in any way. Such is the Para-Brahman, the Supreme Being. Opposite to this, Maya, the illusion, is that which can be manipulated and changed. Both entities, Brahman and Maya, are present. That's why you should look for them yourself. Try to understand that all external objects can be moved or separated. The earth itself turns on itself and at the same time turns around. Air, fire, and water are mobile too. However, the sky cannot be moved even if we wish to do so. But if we close our eyes, even the sky disappears. The sky is the mother of all objects. All these objects, the manifested world, are not true. There is no object in this world that will not disappear if we ignore its existence. Now, look inside. The gross body disappears. The mind is just thoughts and speech. If we are serene, if the mind is at rest, then all dreams, doubts, intellect, thoughts, etc. disappear. What's left then? Nothing. This nothingness can also be abandoned, but nevertheless, the abandoner remains. I am what transcends everything. So therefore, I is left as a witness. Finally, also abandon this I. Now only the truth remains, which is beyond knowledge or ignorance. When knowledge reaches its limit, the one who sees is no longer visible. At that moment, the pride of I simply melts. He who has forgotten everything yet remains. He who renounces everything is no longer in bondage to change. This is to be understood as Brahman, the being, the self. Everything is in Brahman, and Brahman is in everything. If there is bread in the mouth, then that bread will occupy a certain space in the mouth. However, if 200 camels are seen in a mirror, the weight of the mirror will not change because the camels seen in the mirror are just a reflection. Similarly, although the phenomenal world is in Brahman, it does not affect or distort Brahman in any way. Consequently, once you reside in your own self, all external objects disappear. All this is Maya, just a mistake. The self remains untouched by Maya. A person's birth acquires true meaning only when the self is realized. To recognize God, take on the characteristics of God. Be like Him. Be quiet. Thus, it is possible to aspire to obtain real knowledge. It is possible to obtain it by sitting quietly with your mind concentrated. The true I is beyond concepts. He is always free and always pure. This happiness is devoid of all pleasure and suffering. Every day you must practice reaching a higher and higher state, just as an eagle soars higher and higher in the sky. Every day you should try to elevate yourself. Elevating our intellect, understand reality. Become vaster than the universe through your understanding. What you have forgotten is exactly what you need to remember, what you must be aware of. You must recognize the self, the primordial cause, the substratum of everything. Through investigation and the power of discernment, recognize that Paramatman, the Supreme Self, is God. Thus, it is possible to cross the ocean of illusion. All objects which exist in various forms are but dust, and nothing but dust. Study like this. Whatever the desire, whatever the concept, they are just ripples of the inner mind that arise in varying forms. There is only one truth in this world, and that is, I am the Self, Brahman. Everything else is false.